I'm just going to kind of express random thoughts and things that I'm thinking out loud in this video. I'm going to free flow and just talk and kind of exercise my talking muscles and just get talking, because I feel better after I talk. I realize that. I feel good after I talk. I feel good after I express myself and get my ideas out coherently in an orderly fashion. So, slowing down and being mindful of what I'm saying, being mindful that how I articulate myself is clear and concise, and being mindful of my speaking patterns, my thought patterns, and how I comprehend and perceive the world, and how it's different from the many people around me, how we're all different and we all see the world differently. So, the first thought I've been having just sitting here at this park, just sitting and looking at the people out and about in the park, relaxing, living their own life. The first thought that I had was, these people have a whole life behind them. They have a whole story behind them. And right now, I have the honor of seeing this kid at the park just play on the play structure. This adult sitting at a bench talking with their friend. These people in the basketball court dancing and having fun. Two people playing tennis together. But I'm just seeing a small little splice of their life. But behind that, there's a larger story. There's a more complex story. They have parents. They might have kids. They have a job. They have work. They have a personal life. They have a love life. They have their whole entire history. That kid has a full future. He has all this potential to grow into someone and become something and make a difference in this world. So just keeping that in my mind and having that thought was really profound, because it's really easy to have snap judgments of people, to assess a person based on the 30 minutes you've spent with them or the hour you've spent with them. But really, a person is made up of so much more and is so much more whole than what you can see. You only get to see like a slice of a person. So having that realization was really cool. Just observing. And that's another thing, is observing the world. I have been really stressed out lately with all the moving pieces in my life. There's been business, there's been family, there's been love, there's been relationships. All of these have been pulling me in different directions, and I've felt overwhelmed at times. And just like 20 minutes ago, I was thinking about business in my head and some of these issues that are coming up for me in the business world. People demanding this, demanding that, money issues, all of this stuff just makes my life feel shitty and unenjoyable. It's not pleasant. And I don't believe that it has to be that way. I don't believe that I have to be uncomfortable, that I have to accept the way I feel. I can change that. I have a choice to adjust a few things and ask for help and change a few things to make my job more pleasant and more enjoyable and fun, and something that I look forward to. And I was so stuck in my head thinking, how will I do it? What are the answers? What are the keys? Who do I go to for the answers and help? But then I was just remembering, like, the greatest achievements in this world have been made by scientists, and science is simply the act of observing, testing, and finding out the truth, quote unquote, because there's so many different types of truths. But at its essence, science is just the art of observation. So I wanted to take a scientific approach to the issues I was having in my life. And so I came here to this park, and I've just sat down at this log, and for the past 10 minutes or so, I was just sitting and observing what was going on in the park, and observing the people in the park doing their things, living their lives. And from that, bringing it back full circle, I was realizing how they have full lives, just like me, and it made me feel a little less alone, that any one of those people out there, even one of the kids out there, could be going through something tremendous, something very challenging that I have no comprehension of, unless I go seek out what they're going through and interview them or something. But just by sitting here and observing, I was able to come to that beautiful realization and observation of the world. And so I want to continue to explore, and I think observing is a very powerful habit to get into, to turn off your phone and just observe the world going on around you, because the world is filled with data. There's data all around us, and data is cool. You take in data, and from data you can learn things about yourself. You can learn things about the world that are reproducible. You can apply it. Applied data is amazing. You can apply it to making your life better. Observation. For me right now, it's very challenging to observe the inner world, but likewise, I haven't been observing the outer world too much either. So maybe my hypothesis is that it's just like it's yin and yang. By becoming really good at observing the outer world, you also become very good at observing your inner world, and vice versa. So right now, I find it a lot easier to observe my outer world, so that's where I'm going to practice observation, observing the outer world in a very objective fashion, without my biases, just seeing the world as it is and learning from it. And also observing my own life and observing the patterns that reoccur in my life. A big pattern that has reoccurred for me since I was a kid is the pattern of expected failure or expected hardship. When I was but a lad in elementary, I had a hard time in academics and in English. I would sit in class and just shake my leg up and down and stare at the clock until recess came, because that was my favorite part of school, was going out to the playground and playing with the kids and living in my imagination land. I still have a very big imagination, but did not enjoy class. Didn't enjoy it. I would space out. I would think about other things. And because of that, I got not great grades. I got bad marks, and my mom got very concerned with that. So this pattern just started to form. I had to go to assisted education, and I had to have tutors, and I had to have extended time on my tests. And so I always felt like I was the odd man out, or the black sheep. And this started when I was a little kid, and eventually the teacher said, your kid might have ADHD. So my mom took me to a psychotherapist, and they labeled me with ADHD and suggested that I get on medication. I had a few friends who were also on ADHD medication, who were significantly more wild than I was. But I felt like since we all had ADHD, I was under their category. I was the ADHD kid, just like these other ADHD kids. And unfortunately, all the ADHD kids were troublemakers. They were loud, they were noisy. They were just the lowest rank of child possible in my school. At least that's how I saw it as a kid. So I felt like I was a problem. I felt like I was a nuisance. And so that's pretty much what I projected onto myself. Eventually, I got put on Adderall or methylphenidate, and it made me focus. It got me to focus, but it took away all my hunger, and it made me feel very anxious and very jittery. And that didn't feel good. I felt like in order to be the kid that would make my parents happy, I myself had to sacrifice my feeling of normalness, my feeling of expression. And when I was on these pills, I felt like a dead horse. I felt like my will had been broken, my creativity was gone, and I just wasn't myself anymore. So it didn't feel good. So eventually, since it wasn't making me feel good and it was taking away all my hunger, I fought against taking the pills. I told my dad about it, and my dad was a Chinese medicine practitioner, and he was very against the pills. And I didn't feel good taking them, but my mom really insisted that I take them because she was very concerned about my failing grades. So my mom and dad would argue about, oh, he should be taking it, oh no, he should not be taking it. And so I felt like I was the problem, that I was this thing getting between my parents and they were fighting over me. So that didn't feel good. Then as time goes on, I get to high school and the same thing comes up in that I'm not doing well in school and I have to be on these meds. Again, I fight and I don't take it. So the pattern that starts to install in my consciousness is that in order for me to be successful, I have to rely on a pill. I have to rely on assistance, and in whatever endeavors and projects I go into, I'm going to have hardship and I'm going to fail. And that became a pattern that sunk itself into my conscious mind. So whenever I approached something new, I would have this fear that I'm not going to do well at this. I'm going to be seen as the lowest. I'm not going to win. And that just took a hit on my self-esteem. And that is a pattern that I have still to this day. I have this pattern and I need to pay attention to it more, observe it, and deconstruct it, and then disregard it. Because that pattern is a pattern, that's all it is. It's not a truth. Because I'm a human being and I can change. Just like the world changes. Change is the one constant. Patterns, they're a big thing. They come up, for me, they come up like that. For you, they may come up differently, perhaps in your diet, perhaps in the way you perceive your body. A pattern is something that happens more than 3 times. If something happens 3 times, it is considered a pattern. So if something continues to happen in your life, that's a pattern, and you need to pay attention to it. You need to give it some thought and awareness so you can break it. If it's a good pattern, then support that pattern, understand that pattern, and keep it going. But if it's a pattern that makes you feel uncomfortable and negative, it's not a pattern worth keeping around in your life. Like people who get married and then divorced 2 years later, there's a pattern going on. If that's happened like 3 or 4 times, you keep getting divorced, there's a pattern. And you need to pay attention to it, think about it, figure it out, and eliminate that pattern. Another pattern I have is starting a project and not finishing it. So I want to follow through and get better at concentrating my energies on one project and making it the best, getting the highest quality work out from myself. I want to get better at doing that. And that just takes focus, extreme focus, dedication of time on one task, elimination of all distractions around me, just putting my head down and focusing on what I'm doing for a long period of time. And as I get better at that, I think I will start to become more happy. I'll have more gratitude of my work, and I'll start to appreciate the details of my work, the finer things. That's where I want to be in my career. That's where I want to be in my life 5 years from now. Being able to start a project and finish it through, and not only that, maintain that project and continuing to nurture that project and watching it grow and develop and live a project-full life, live a long life, start a project and have it live on for years, even after I die. Just like the founding fathers who wrote the Constitution, they made a masterpiece of a system that continues on even after they have passed away. That's the type of dedication and effort I'd like to put into my projects, that they live on beyond me, that it's like a spirit being born from me and continuing on. Anyways, that was actually the video I wanted to make, a video about patterns. And yeah, I enjoyed expressing myself in this format. I like talking and having a raw, open dialogue. So that's all I had to share in this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe, and if you didn't, that's okay. Give a comment. Your feedback helps a lot. I want to spark and start a conversation and a community. I value community a lot. So yeah, thank you for watching. Peace.